Methodist Church, and welcome to our Wesley Bible study today. We're going to get a twofer today. If you go to our worship service, you might see me up in the pulpit. So,
That'd be
how
nice.
about that? Well, yeah, maybe. We'll see. People ask me how I'm doing. I say I haven't preached yet, so we'll see how that goes. We're doing the continuing saga of David and Saul in chapters 26. And then also in 27, although things are pretty well done in chapter 26 as far as David and Saul. But this is almost a reiteration of what we had in chapter 24. So we're going to see a similar event and a similar outcome. And then we're going to get into some very disturbing territory in chapter 27. So let's see how it goes. Chapter 26, then the Ziphites came to Saul at Gibeah, saying, David is hiding on the hill of Hachilah, which is opposite Jeshimon. You know where that is. Okay. So Saul rose and went down to the wilderness of Ziph. Okay, you got to really watch these Ziphite folks. Okay, Ziphites, they're not Jewish. These are Gentiles, but they're trying to they're trying to ingratiate themselves to Saul. And get themselves a place somewhere in the promised land without being hassled too much. So these guys are ratting out David all the time, the Ziphites. Okay, I don't know what David's going to do to them eventually. We'll probably see. Anyway, Saul encamped on the hill of Hachilah, which is opposite Jeshimon, beside the road. But David remained in the wilderness. When he learned that Saul had come after him into the wilderness, David sent out spies and learned that Saul had indeed arrived. Then David set out and came to the place where Saul had encamped. And David saw the place where Saul lay, where Abner, son of Ner, the commander of his army. Saul was lying within the encampment while the army was encamped around him. All right, let's get a little bit of background on this. We talked about this a little bit the last time. Saul looks like the villain. Okay? Saul is the villain in this because he's ostensibly chasing the innocent David. Okay, what's David doing? David has got 600 guys, okay, and they are introduced to us in previous chapters as people of ill repute, people who are running away from their debts, people who have been evicted from their lands, people who ne'er-do-wells. They're called ne'er-do-wells in that respect. Okay, so David's got this gang of thugs, 600 of them, okay? They're tooling around in Saul's territory. And what are they doing? Well, they got to stay alive, right? So, and it's not just the 600 guys, because their families are with them too. So you got to feed all these people. So what do thugs do? They extort people. So David's got 600 guys that are going around in sovereign territory, and they're acting like a government unto themselves. They are imposing taxes on the local population, and they're doing it by force of arms. Okay? You saw what happened in the previous chapter with Nabal. They were trying to extort Nabal to give them supplies. Nabal was loyal to Saul, and then his wife goes and gives David all this stuff, and Nabal is worried literally till death because he knows what Saul does to people who support David. Okay, but you got this thing going on where you have this rogue band running around in your country. I mean, this is like having the mob. Okay, very similar. I mean, it's written like David's a poor David. He's an innocent guy. No, David has set himself up as a marauder in Saul's territory. Okay, beside the fact that he represents a threat to the throne. Okay, and he represents a threat to Saul's son Jonathan, who's the heir apparent. Okay, besides all of that, David is acting in a way which we would not tolerate in this country. Okay, just put it in perspective a little bit. understand that these chapters were probably commissioned by David to be written by official scribes in the royal court. So you're going to get a different perspective than what I just put out. But if you look at the reality of what's going on in those circumstances, and we're going to see later that David's a pretty rough guy. Okay, so so anyway, Saul's after him, and Saul's got 3,000 men around him, and he's got an encampment, and his top general, Abner, who's his uncle, okay, is sleeping next to Saul, okay, in the center of the camp. Then David said to Ahimelech the Hittite and to Joab's brother Abishai, son of Zeruiah. Now Zeruiah is David's sister, okay, so this is his nephew. And look at the, remember Ahimelech the Hittite. Who was another Hittite in David's story? Comes later. Okay, how about Uriah the Hittite? Okay, married to a lady named Bathsheba. Okay, so he's got two people and he's inviting them to go on a reconnaissance. Okay, so who will go down with me to the camp in Saul? Abishai said, I will go down with you. So his nephew is going to go down with him. His nephew's got a pretty good rep. He's a tough guy. He's a warrior. He's already got, he's got some combat under his belt. Okay, so David and Abishai went down to the army by night. There Saul was sleeping within the encampment. So the Hittite did not go. Okay. With his spear stuck in the ground at his head, and Abner and the army lay around him, Abishai said to David, God has given your enemy into your hand today. Now therefore let me pin him to the ground with one stroke of the spear. I will not strike him twice. But David said to Abishai, do not destroy him, for who can raise his hand against the Lord's anointed and be guiltless? David is once again defending the Lord's anointed. Because guess who else is the Lord's anointed? David. Okay, so you don't want to start a trend. You just don't. Okay. David said, as the Lord lives, the Lord will strike him down, or his day will come to die, or he will go down into battle and perish. Okay, so David is making a prediction that Saul's death is inevitable. God will work it out, just like he did with unfortunate Nabal. Okay? All right. The Lord forbid that I should raise my hand against the Lord's anointed. Now take the spear that is at his head and the water jug and let us go. So David took the spear that was at Saul's head and the water jug, and they went away. No one saw it or knew it, nor did anyone awake, for they were all asleep, because a deep sleep from the Lord had fallen upon them. Okay, now what is David doing? He is saying that God is miraculously supporting me. How can I walk through a camp of 3,000 men and come to the center of the camp and nobody discovers me? There are no guards, everybody's sleeping. I mean, give me a break. It's
So
just,
why else would they be asleep to the point that they are not aware of anybody?
that's what David says. Why else would they be asleep?
I'm
if God-
asking you, why else?
Well, the only explanation I have is that God put them into a deep sleep, and I've got the Bible to back me up.
To protect David.
Yeah,
To protect
to
David.
protect David.
Right.
Okay, all right. Now, God does not want, apparently, God does not want David or anybody else to kill Saul. Okay? God says, that's up to me, I'll do it. All right. At least that's what David is implying. Then David went over to the other side and stood on top of a hill far away, good idea, with a great distance between them. David called to the army and to Abner, son of Ner, saying, Abner, will you not answer? Then Abner replied, who are you that calls to the king? David said to Abner, are you not a man who is like you in Israel? Why then have you not kept watch over your lord the king? For what? Because God put him into a deep sleep. It's not Abner's fault. But what an opportunity to rag the guy, okay? For one of the people came in to destroy your lord the king. This thing that you have done is not good. As the Lord lives, you deserve to die because you have not kept watch over the Lord, your Lord, the Lord's anointed. He's right. If you're caught sleeping on guard duty, in some militaries, that will definitely get you killed. Okay? Because that will probably get some other people killed. See now, where is the king's spear or the water jar that it was at his head? Abner's supposed to know this? Okay?
No, but he's supposed to notice that it's gone.
Yeah, he should notice that it's gone. Oh, check it out. Saul recognized David's voice and said, "Is this your voice, my son David?" Which is what he said the other time that he was chasing him to kill him. All right? David said, "It is my voice, my lord, O king." He added, "Why does my lord pursue his servant? For what have I done? What guilt is on my hands? Now therefore, let my lord the king hear the words of his servant. If it is the Lord who has stirred you up against me, may he accept an offering. But if it is mortals, may they be cursed before the Lord. For they have driven me out today from my share in the heritage of the Lord, saying, go serve other gods." What's going on here? Okay? David is saying, if I have to go worship other gods, that's on you. In other words, if I have to go into another god's territory. Understand now, these people did not really think in terms of their God being the same God that was over any other land. Okay? This is the God of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. This is the God of the promised land. Okay? If that land is outside the boundaries of the promised land, then that God, their God, doesn't really rule in those other lands. So if David has to go under the jurisdiction of other gods, that's on Saul. That's what he's saying. Okay? And that's precisely what David's about to do. So, anyway. But he says he's going to serve other gods. So David is claiming that if I have to violate the first commandment, I'm blameless because you're forcing me to do it.
Because he's after him.
Yeah. Now, okay. David understands that God is especially loyal to him. It does not seem that David is especially loyal to God.
I mean, who's going to make him serve another god?
Well, Saul, because he's bad.
Well, I mean, that's just an excuse.
Yes. Okay. But you have to understand, we look at the throne of David and all of that. This guy is horribly flawed. And this guy does not have a strong sense of morality.
I don't know. I just disagree with you on that. On what I've read about David and what I've looked at, it seems to me David's problems are because Saul is always pursuing him.
Things are going to get a lot worse.
Saul is the pursuing David, and so David is fleeing.
Yes. Does that excuse him
From what?
from serving,
Taking another
from having to serve other gods?
But he didn't say. He said, would I have to? He didn't say that he would.
Well, let's move on. Okay. Now, therefore, do not let my blood fall to the ground away from the presence of the Lord. So he's begging him not to force him to do something that's really bad. Okay, you don't want to force me to do bad things. He's already doing bad things. Okay? For the king of Israel has come out to see a single flea, like one who hunts a partridge in the mountains. He says, I'm nothing. What are you bothering me for? Okay? Well, he's not nothing. He's a guy with 600 thugs.
He's the future king.
Yeah, okay. Fine.
And God has chosen him. He anointed him when he was a child.
Yes.
So obviously God's going to look out for him.
Well, you would think that a guy who believed that would not think that anybody could drive him to serve other gods.
I think he was just saying that. I don't think he meant that he was going to serve other gods.
Keep working it.
I am, don't worry.
see it was him exaggerating like a threat.
Right, exactly. Are you gonna do this to
Don't
me,
do
so I
this,
have
and
to
I'm
do
gonna have
this?
to go,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, look what you're making me do.
right, yeah.
That's,
Yeah.
I mean, that's innocent.
Come on. Okay? Then Saul said, I have done wrong. Come back, my son David, for I'll never harm you again. Because my life was precious in your sight today, I have been a fool and have made a great mistake. Now, he calls himself Nabal. Okay? Nabal means fool, idiot. That's the name of the guy in the last story.
But does he really mean it? Saul?
Well-
He does this a lot.
I think this is like the negotiations that are going on between the United States and Iran. Nobody believes a thing. Okay? You might have an agreement, but
Today and not tomorrow.
today, not tomorrow. Okay? And by the way, we are dealing with a culture. We are dealing with a culture that does not require that a Muslim fulfill a contract with an infidel. If you have a contract, if you're an infidel and you have a contract with a Muslim, according to the Quran, you're not really bound by it. Now, if you have a contract with another Muslim, you do. You're bound by it, okay? And a Muslim will absolutely expect that the infidel will fulfill the terms of the contract, but it doesn't go the other way. So we're trying to negotiate and get an agreement with a group of people who think it is a violation of Quranic law to be bound by anything that they agree to with an infidel. Okay? But you get a sense that these guys really don't trust each other. Okay? They may come to a truce, but they won't come to a peace. Okay? David replied, here is the spear, O king, let one of your young men come over and get it. Okay, he's not sending one of his young men, he's sending one of your guys come on over and get it. Okay? The Lord rewards everyone for his righteousness and his faithfulness, for the Lord gave you into my hand today, but I would not raise my hand against the Lord's anointed. As for your life, as your life was precious today in my sight, so may my life be precious in the sight of the Lord, and may he rescue me from all tribulation. He isn't saying, may my life be safe from you. Okay? He's saying that my trust isn't in you, my trust is in the Lord to preserve my life. Okay? Then Saul said to David, blessed be you, my son David. You will do many things, and you will succeed in them. So David went his way, and Saul returned to his place. Look how Saul affirms him. Okay? I understand that this was a royal scribe that wrote this down. I'm not so sure that Saul was that amenable. Okay? But this is what we have. This is the record. Okay? Now, so they don't get back together. Saul doesn't welcome him into the palace, and he doesn't treat him like the regent expectations. And, they're still at odds with each other very much. Even though they have these peaceable terms, they don't trust each other at all. And, might I add, with good reason. Okay? David said in his heart, this is 27, I shall certainly perish one day by the hand of Saul. Now see, he just made this affirmation that God was going to protect his life. Didn't he just say that? Okay, now he says, in his heart, I shall certainly perish one day by the hand of Saul. What's it going to be? All right?
It's
So-
like us. We teeter and totter. We say
Yeah.
one day God's with us, and then you think things go wrong, and you think, oh gosh, where are you?
Yeah,
So,
good question.
Could David not be doing the same kind of thing?
Yes, especially if he had a faith that would waver.
But don't, I'm not going to say that.
Well, isn't he wavering?
Yeah, I think.
But don't we all?
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not saying we don't,
We're
Okay.
all-
okay?
We're all flawed like David.
No.
No, not,
No,
you said-
cause it does
Okay,
stink.
let's look at Saul for a moment.
Okay,
So Saul, you don't see that Saul is, to me, in my mind, worse than David. Saul has pursued David from the get-go. Would this have all happened if Saul had not pursued David? Because,
there are two characteristics here that I think are important that differentiate between these two men,
okay,
okay? Saul is the official reigning king. He has official reigning king responsibilities towards his people, which means that you can't have some marauder running around messing him up, okay? That's his official duty, is protecting his people.
but is David ever going after his people?
Yes,
Because Saul's
that's how he
going after
supports
him.
his 600 thugs.
I missed that when I read this chapter.
I know.
That where it says that.
I know, but well, when you look at the place where David, this is right after he leaves Nob with the priest of Nob, okay? And he continues to flee from Saul, and 600 ne'er-do-wells attach themselves to him. And they are described as that.
What choice does he have?
Well, you know,
He's got to have somebody around him to help protect him.
so if I find myself in dire straits, the only thing I can do is join the mob. What choice do I have? I mean, really,
Really?
seriously,
what could he have done?
what could he have done? He could have gone and not attached the band of merry men with him.
Gone where?
Gone someplace. He could have gone to Midian. He's got family down there. Okay, he sent his family down there for safety. He could have just gone to Midian for a while and
See,
wait till
look at
Saul
that. He
died.
took care of his family. He sent them away.
Yes, he did, to a safe region, something out of Saul's jurisdiction. He could have gone out of Saul's jurisdiction. Oh, no, I'm gonna stick around. I'm gonna hang around Judah, okay? And I'm gonna extort people down there to support me. I'm going to rob from the rich and give to me.
See, I don't read that, so we'll go back and read this.
Well, hey, it's his style. Let's see. Okay? There is nothing better for me than to escape to the land of the Philistines. Oh, then Saul will despair of seeking me any longer within the borders of Israel, and I should escape him out of my hand. Why the Philistines? Why not just go down to Midian, where they're not at war with Saul? No, he's going to the place that is at war with Saul. Okay? Then Saul will despair. Okay. So David set out and went over, he and 600 men who were with him, to King Achish, son of Maoch of Gath, Goliath's hometown. Okay? David stayed with Achish at Gath, and he and his troops and every man with his household. And David with his 2 wives, we asked, whether or not he'd been married before. Okay, this is the answer. Ahinoam of Jezreel and Abigail of Carmel, Nabal's widow. When Saul was told that David had fled to Gath, he no longer sought him. Okay? Then David said to Achish, if I have found favor in your sight, let a place be given to me in one of the country towns, so that I may live there. For why should your servant live in the royal city with you? So that day Achish gave him Ziklag. Therefore Ziklag has belonged to the kings of Judah to this day. The length of the time that David lived in the country of the Philistines was 1 year and 4 months. What's he doing that time? David and his men went up and made raids on the Geshurites, the Girzites, and the Amalekites, for these were the landed settlements from Talam on the way to Shur and on to the land of Egypt. So what he's doing is he's going down south and he's raiding Gentile cities. Okay? Gentile cities that had trading relationships with the Philistines. Okay? How's he getting away with this? David struck the land, leaving neither man nor woman alive, but took away the sheep, the oxen, the donkeys, and the camels, and the clothing, and came back to Achish. When Achish asked, against whom have you made a raid today? David would say, against the Negeb of Judah, against the Negeb of the Jerachmeelites, or against the Negeb of the Kenites. David left neither man nor woman alive to be brought back to Gath, thinking they might tell about us and say, David has done so and so. Such was his practice all the time he lived in the country of the Philistines. Achish trusted David, thinking he has made himself utterly abhorrent to his people Israel, therefore he shall always be my servant. David is going into Gentile towns, and he's raiding them, and he's annihilating them so that there are no witnesses left. He's stealing all their stuff. He's bringing some of it to King Achish so that Achish will say, hey, this is profitable, this is good. Where have you been getting this? Oh, I've been getting it from the Israelites. I've gone into Israelite territory. And I've hit the Kenites, who are Gentiles within that area, they're around Jerusalem. So I've been raiding my own people and their friends, and King Achish says, oh, hey, that's swell. Now, he'll always be my servant because his people will hate him. Now, the reason this is worth noting. The reason why this story is prominent here is that from the standpoint of two cultures that despise each other, this is a joke. He's pulling a fast one. And when you report this to your own people, when you get this to your own people, you see, oh, what a clever guy he was.
He was.
He definitely was. Okay? David was always a lot more shrewd than he was wise. But it's in here because there is such animosity between Jews and Gentiles that if you can pull a fast one on your enemy, that's really cool. Now, I was in the business of trying to pull fast ones on our enemies. And, if we succeeded, that was really cool. I'm not saying that sentiment doesn't pertain. Okay? As a soldier, I never believed in annihilation. Okay? Never believed in
That was the culture
that.
of the world.
But it was the culture of the world at that
That's what
time.
they did.
Yes.
They killed everybody out.
They killed everybody out, although you don't really see that happening with the Gentiles when they attack. The Gentiles are not annihilating villages. They're not annihilating their enemies. Okay, the only ones that you see being killed are the ones who are killed in battle when it comes to a battle with Gentile nations. Okay? So if the Gentiles win, you just learn that you had so many casualties on the battlefield. But you don't see genocide being committed by the Gentile nations. With the Jews, you do see a genocide being committed. And this is part and parcel of their culture at that time. Okay? At that time. Now, I'm not saying that we've been immune to this because, in the development of the United States, there have been occasions where, we've committed genocide against tribes and things like that. Nobody is immune to this. Nobody's immune to this. And I think it's important for us as Christians to understand that this is a human failure that is part and parcel with our nature. And we have to be careful, because when you get into combat, especially with somebody who is extremely vicious, okay, there is a tendency to go overboard in what you do. And you have to watch very carefully that you don't become as ruthless and despotic as your enemies. So when it comes to how we treat prisoners, I've been watching stories about German prisoners being brought to the United States, and they were treated better than they were being treated in their own armies. In fact, they were being treated much better in southern prison camps than the black population in that area. There were times when we took prisoners out to go to the movies, okay? And they could sit right down in the bottom seats, and the black people, if they were able to go to the theater at all, had to sit up in the balcony. We were more segregated against our own people than we were against the Germans that we brought in from the battlefield. It's a sad thing. But at the same time, we weren't annihilating them. It was not our purpose. Even with the deployment of atomic weapons, it was not our purpose to utterly destroy every Japanese person. Okay? It was to stop a really horrific conflict. But, and you know, there are two sides to that. But when you're at war, there is a tendency to excess. And what we need to take from the stories in the Old Testament is that even God's people, righteously, as far as they were concerned, could go to this excess. And we have to watch it, because God's people from time to time, I mean, Germany was a Christian country as far as we know, and look how they went to excess. Okay? This is a huge temptation in times of conflict or distress, and to look at the annihilation of your opponent. And some people will say, well, it's in the Bible. Okay? But we need to understand that even if it's in the Bible, that doesn't mean that excuses us from doing these kinds of things. The commitment with Abraham was that he would have a land, that he would sire offspring that would be a great people, and that they would be a light to the nations, not the annihilator of nations. So when you see something like this happening, this is counter to the original purpose that God had for his people. And David can use the excuse that Saul chased him and made him do, you made me do it, you made me do it. I'm sorry, I don't buy it. Okay? But when you see this kind of thing happening with the throne of David, you get an idea of what the throne of David is going to be acting like. Okay? Saul was king. Saul was trying to listen to what the prophets were telling him.
And not abiding by them.
Yeah, but what they wanted him to do was to annihilate people. Okay? He was listening to, at the same time, his people, who were saying, hey, if we're going to go to war, we should be able to, use the spoils of war. And so he was caught between these two things. David, on the other hand, considers himself totally responsible to God and to God alone. David has no consideration, really, for the opinions of his people.
But at this point, he doesn't have a people.
He's got 600 thugs.
Thugs, yeah, but he's not the key, he's not the ruler yet, so he doesn't have to answer to anybody yet.
If I have 10 guys following me, am I going to inspire them to go pull raids and annihilate people, or am I going to put Bibles in their hands and say, go talk to the nations? What did Jesus do? Jesus sent his disciples out not to kill everybody like a bunch
That's
of
why
thugs.
we have the New Testament, because it goes against what we've been taught in the Old Testament.
Yes.
Well, I think this tells us more about God than it does about David. I mean, God, he's merciful. I mean, no matter what you do or what David did, he was forgiven. I think we're learning more about God than maybe about
I think it's
these characters.
when we get into the business of forgiving David, this form of salvation that we see in the Old Testament is not exactly the same as our perception of salvation in the New Testament. Okay? It's not the same. So this is a rough period. Okay? But this is not something for us necessarily to emulate. Okay?
But think about David. He's been anointed already.
Yeah.
He's anointed. He's been anointed because he's going to be the next king. He's carrying that burden of knowing that he's supposed to be the ruler of the people. I've got to keep myself alive and protected.
Okay. Let's look at ourselves. Let's look at
He was
ourselves.
selfish. I mean, he had to be.
He was. But the thing I think is that I guess that the problem that I have with this is David had a relationship with God, and when he did something wrong, he was willing to accept with God that he had done it wrong. He asked for forgiveness.
Yeah, when he got caught.
We don't know that because we don't have.
Yeah, because it's in the record.
But we don't have written down all of David's thoughts and
I
all of.
wonder why that is.
Because David didn't write this,
No, his scribes did.
or Samuel, or Nathan, or Gad wrote these things. And David had no control over what was put in the Old Testament.
Ooh, I wouldn't
He
go that
wasn't
far.
around when they decided.
Have you read the
these are-
Psalms?
I'm reading them right now as I'm reading this.
Okay, well, don't tell me David didn't have control.
And of what was finally compiled in the Bible.
Okay, let's bring something forward.
Okay.
Okay, we just celebrated our 250th anniversary as a nation, right?
Right.
Okay, what happened 250 years ago? What is it? What is the thing that
Freedom of
happened?
religion. No. Declaration of
What did it mean?
Declaration of Independence.
Right.
Okay, the Declaration of Independence took all of the rationale that legitimized a king and brought it from the throne to the people of the United States. Okay? So you have what was once royal authority. God has blessed you with inalienable rights. Only kings had inalienable rights. Now the people have inalienable rights. And then the question arises, if God gives you these freedoms, what are you going to do with them? Are you going to be a David?
Sometimes.
I'm afraid so. And that's the sorry history that we've seen very often in our own history. But that has been the story of humanity down through the ages. Okay? There are lessons to be learned from the Bible. Some of them are how to behave, and some of them are how not to behave. Okay? So understand that the Bible is not just telling you, be good, be good, be good. The Bible is also telling you there are things in there that don't speak to a person's goodness. Don't. Okay? David was ready to throw out the first commandment and use Saul as an excuse.
I don't think that.
Well, that's what he said.
I know, but.
And that's what he did. When he started serving the Philistine king, he was serving other gods.
But he was trying to endear himself to the Philistine king.
Yeah, what do we do with other gods? We try to endear ourselves to them?
But there's a purpose. There's a purpose there. David
Oh.
knows.
Okay.
Does anybody else have anything to say other than me?
But no, I enjoy the fact that you're challenging these things. Okay? We should. And this is the thing. If you just take it and say, oh, he committed these raids and he annihilated everybody, so whenever the U.S. military goes out, they should be biblically excused from annihilating everybody.
And I don't think that's the point. I don't think that's the story at all.
No, but that's how the point is taken if you don't watch out.
If you don't know the complete story, that might be the way it's taken. But everything David loved God. God loved David. David would go to God and ask for forgiveness when he did things. He asked for forgiveness when he had Uriah killed. He asked for forgiveness. How many times did Saul go to God and ask for forgiveness?
He has. He begged Samuel to intercede on his behalf because he was sorry. Sorry.
But he still didn't.
Okay, we gotta get going. I'm gonna be gone next week. So you have time to ponder all these things. Ponder them like Mary in your heart. And God bless you. We'll see you when I get back.